Hey everyone, welcome back to another live episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. This is Donnie Gupton. Today we've got an excellent guest on the show, Chantz Staden. Chantz is the owner of Agile Tech Recruiting, and they help engineering teams gain market share and meet product release deadlines by adding top-tier embedded firmware and kernel developers to their teams. And he does this within 30 days. Chance is also a former running back at Washington State University, so we'll talk about that and dig into his journey over the last few months, where he went from 0 to 300K. Part of that was from the work that we did in the relevant recruiter the relevant recruiter method. Most of that was because Chance is just a pure hustler and badass. So Chance, thank you for being here on the show with me today.
Absolutely, bud. Thanks for having me. It's my first podcast, so I'm juiced.
All right, man. Well, let's dig in. Let's get into it. So, I know one of the things we hit off of right away is, we're from the same hometown, being both from the Bay Area and San Jose. Both of us played, college football. Tell us, give me a little bit about, you played running back at Washington State. But I know for me as a former Division I athlete, so much of what I learned and did in college just helps me as a professional. So, just curious, how for you has your college journey, playing football specifically, helped you in your professional life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think about football, how it relates to my business and life in general all the time. But to answer your question, I thought double days in college was like the hardest we're gonna go through, right? Or that I was gonna go through in life, other than like military training or something, right? That's pretty, it's pretty extreme workout measures and in the heat and all those things. And then as I got into entrepreneurship and owning my own business, I was like, wait a minute. That's not the hardest thing I'm going to do. This is the hardest thing I'm going to do. And, but going back to that time saying, I made it through those days, right?
Yep.
And it just helps kind of build that anchor for, that's why football is such a great, great sport, but it generates that anchor that stays with you, throughout your life. And, like you said, you play D1, so you get that mentality stays with you, right? And so, yeah, that's helped me kind of stay the course, stay confident, and complete the mission. So,
Yep. Yep. Love to hear that, man. That's excellent. So when you look at, some of the specific things, like in terms of the mental toughness, what kind of mental toughness grind, that you got to college that helps you push through, this, because we know entrepreneurship is not easy. It's not easy. So what have you been doing from the mental toughness side of things?
speaking of double days, I'm working out at 5 a.m. Working out at 5 a.m. I haven't worked out consistently in 4 years, so doing that as my first task, and I kind of just went in. I said, I got to start now. Just turned 36 a month ago. Something clicked, right? My son's 3. I got to keep up with him. I can't even keep up with the kids. They want me to chase after them. I'm done after 2
Right.
rounds. So I got more energy now. But that mentality of getting up every morning, because there's some mornings I don't want to get up, right? But in
Oh yeah.
college, football, oh, if you didn't get up, you weren't playing. And so I
Right.
was there for one reason and one reason only. And so I was going to get up, and I tap into that. And I've just done this recently, but it's kind of helped me start my day, in the right direction. And I just kind of build on top of that momentum, and it carries me throughout the day. But yeah, pushing through those 5 a.m. workouts, waking up, and just kind of mentally telling yourself, like, if you want it, you got to go and get it, and this is it,
Right.
and this is what it takes, right? To
Yep.
And so yeah, that helps me, stay into this entrepreneurship and business ownership, and just stay mentally aligned, or at least prepared for whatever comes my way, right? So
Right.
yeah, the 5 a.m. workouts, man,
Yep. The
those
5
are,
a.m.
yeah,
workouts are brutal.
yeah.
They're brutal. Well, let's kind of transition. So how did you get into the staffing and recruiting industry? What's your background there?
Yeah, everyone has the same story, right? Recruiters, no one ever goes into recruiting intentionally. But dude, I started out in Maxim staffing, which was nursing and hospital staffing, and then I was in San Jose, and so I learned quickly, hey, there's a lot of cash and money in tech. So I transitioned into tech recruiting. But how I got into recruiting was just a call from a recruiter that was an alumni at Washington State, Allison Clifton. I'll never forget it. I was like, doing odd end jobs, and she said, "Hey, you want to be a recruiter?" I was like, "Military recruiter or football recruiter?" I didn't know what kind of recruiter she was talking about. So she put me on to the staffing industry, and then that's where I got my start in Maximum Staffing from a recruiter alumni.
Love it. Now, what made you decide, okay, after going through that, like what made you decide and what inspired you to start your own recruiting business?
Yeah, for me it was a couple of things, but the one real eye opener was when I had my first child. So
Okay.
that first year just flew by, and I said, "How did time go so fast? Where was I?" I
Right.
was at the office. I was at the office. I was working, and I was making good money. But I was making someone else even more money. So when I became a father, it really changed something in me and said, okay, it's my time to create something for myself and for my family. And that's what kind of ignited me, is right. I wanted my time back. I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss my time with my children, because everyone says they're only young once. So I wanted to make sure to stay as present as possible, and working for myself was that's what kind of, I couldn't even stop it, like
Yep.
I wasn't in a position to where I could start my own business, but I forced myself into it, and and the rest is history. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a hell of a leap, man, because I've been in your shoes and been backed in that corner. And, I've made a similar decision of going into entrepreneurship mainly because of, freedom and opportunity for my family and things like that. So that totally aligns in terms of, why. Now, let's get into like the actual business of why and how did we end up in this specific niche of, engineering teams, specifically embedded and kernel developers? Like, I don't even know what the heck that is, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
how'd you stumble across that? How did we carve that out?
Long story short, it's your fault. I
Yeah.
never, hey, I never heard of niching down or having a specialization. I thought my specialization was tech, but
Right.
looking at tech, I work in, that's a vast, sector. So
Hmm.
there's multiple niches that you can niche down almost, infinitely within tech, because tech's always expanding. But starting your program, understanding that there's a new business world that we're now entering, right? And
Right.
people are
Right.
buying in a different fashion than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so to stay on track, which wait, I was going to get off track. What was your original question? Oh yeah, niching.
Yeah.
How did I get there? So yeah, through you. And then um, so that's how I got into the embedded niche. But why I picked embedded is because I worked in that area so much. I was so familiar with that area. I
Right.
was comfortable talking with those engineers. I knew the companies, the players, and they make good money, right? Like median right now is 200K for an embedded engineer in California.
Right.
So so the incentive was there as well. But yeah, those are kind of the pieces that I took to pick that niche.
Got it. Got it. So a lot of that comes from your background and what you were already successful at, what you knew, and then me basically going, all right, cool, we're going all in on this.
Exactly. And there's a
Yep.
couple of times where it's like, hey, uh, there was a time where should I switch? The market wasn't doing good. I wasn't really,
Hmm.
I didn't think it was there. And then we connected, and that's when that entrepreneur mindset and mentality that you bring also to your program, which was, it basically saved me. But we had a heart to heart, and you said double down. It's there, trust, and that was the key. And then after that, it took off, right? So
Right.
yeah, it takes some mental kind of practice to like understand. Okay, this is a niche. This is my space. It's okay to say no to this
Right.
other stuff. It's okay, because there's enough work here. But we got that shiny object syndrome, so it's always like we're missing out on something. But yeah, it was an extra. Took me a little bit longer to get comfortable with that niche,
Right.
but yeah, it's important. It's important for
Yeah.
business success to me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you speaking on that because so many people I speak with, and you, as you know, people come into my program and everybody's like, and it's like this hesitation and a little bit of scarcity. Like, is there going to be enough in my market for me to win? Am I going to be able to make enough money? And, really, I mean, it's not to say that you don't make an educated, choice on it, but it's, I think that what you're saying is going to resonate with so many people that are kind of on the fence. Like I know a couple people right now in my program that are just kind of like shoot, like I want to go on in this, but I don't know if this is the right one. And there is a little bit
What?
of just blind going for it. And yeah,
Well, I mean, that's where faith comes in. That's where trust
yeah,
comes in, right? But
right.
the key note there is that where your attention goes, what you focus on expands. So if
Yes.
I'm always looking for embedded software engineering openings, I'm gonna find them.
Right.
Like you
Right.
have to trust, and that's how this works. And so
Right.
when you have that understanding, yeah, but again,
Yeah.
there are some mental hurdles you have to overcome. The lack consciousness, like you mentioned,
Yep.
that part is heavy on us. But
Yep.
um, but yeah, man, it's
Yeah. I love
it's
your comment
key.
about what you focus on expands, and not only like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on, okay, I'm looking at software engineering roles. I'll find more of those, but it's also like, I'm going to focus on me winning rather than me losing, right? Focusing on the opportunity rather than, oh, this isn't going to work. This isn't. And I think that's one of the things that, like you said, we kind of had that conversation, which was like, all right, here we go. And then I think once you did, once it kind of clicked for you is when the magic started to happen.
Yeah, almost like, okay,
Yeah.
there was no plan B, right? You kind of give
Yep.
yourself no backup plan. And
Right.
like you mentioned, it is a where you focus, um, and that goes into anything. Like you said, there's always two sides to the stick. So we're going to look at the glass half empty or half full, and you want
Right.
to stay on the half full side because that's that prosperity, that's that
Yep.
abundance, that's that good feeling energy. So
Right.
yeah, man, it takes a while, but it's a game you have to play with yourself.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So talking about like my program, I mean, what was going on in your business, like challenges or pain points or frustration you were facing? I mean, we just talked about the niche part, but like what was the ultimate challenge that you were facing that you were like, yeah, I'm going to reach out to Donnie or reach out to coaches and see where it can get some solution?
Yeah, Donnie, I was at a fork in the road, really,
Hmm.
when I came across your program. And so, long story short, started my own business. For 3, 4 years, after COVID, we were increasing, getting bigger. Okay. And then November 2022, tech started laying off. Google, Meta, thousands of employees. So everyone else
Right.
kind of, did the same, followed suit. And so all of my clients at that time froze hiring. And me as a recruiter, I never did the business development process other than calling a manager at a company, right?
Right.
So I didn't really have any other options into how am I going to eat? Where's my next client coming from? And then that's when the universe brought you to me, and
Right.
you were speaking my language. You're talking directly to me at that time, and it was a no brainer for me. And like I'm big on like feeling and intuition, and I just knew when I came across your program. I watched you for about a week on your videos and stuff. I was already sold right through my videos, and then when I found out you were from San Jose, I was like, oh, there's my last sign. I'm signing up with Donnie. And
Yeah,
so yeah,
that was a fun little discovery we had. What
yeah.
was, like outside of the San Jose thing, what was the big things that made you decide to work with me? I mean, obviously there's a bunch of other coaches and solving a bunch of different problems, but with me specifically, what was it that you were kind of, you know, after?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I knew I needed help. I didn't know exactly where that help was going to come from or how it was going to come. But the way I went through, purchasing through you, like my process, the way you made me feel through your marketing videos, your content, and just the mentality. Right, you had that
Yep.
walk-on football mentality, and
Yep.
like that's my mentality. I was a junior college transfer, but still
Yep.
same kind of mentality, right? So
Hmm.
that clicked for me, and then also seeing testimonials from other recruiters that were
Right.
also in my same situation. And then also is like just looking at my current market and like my competitors, right? And
Right.
nobody's doing video. So I was like, this is the answer. And it's scary, right? At first
Oh
getting on
yeah.
video
Yeah.
and camera. But I knew like, okay, if I wanted it, this was one of those, fears that I had to overcome. And that's what, your program, offered to me. And yeah,
Awesome.
man, so forever grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, grateful for you as well. So, strategy is obviously the big foundation that we start to work on. Talk about how the strategy, what that looks like, how you would describe that, and how that's helped improve your business.
Yeah, I mean, it ties into the niche, right? And so once
Hmm.
you niche down, your clients, right, become more clear. Your candidates become more clear, and so it almost like gives you tunnel vision. Um, but even with that, for me as a recruiter, I didn't know where to start, right? So right away, I mean, first week in the first messaging in the Ulink campaign, and I get a contract signed. Actually, I got three at the time, right?
Right.
But I filled one within that 30 days, and that was the highest fee I'd ever seen, 48K. So immediately I was on board. I was like, okay, I'm going all in,
Right.
right, with not only the program but the video content, and just that, and the strategy as well as targeting your direct clients, right? And you
Right.
got, and your profile has to be talking to them specifically. But that right there is key. And then
Yep.
everything else, it's everyone has a different kind of business development process, right? Everything,
Right.
different things work for different people, but that's the core right there. And so if you can get that nailed down, then yeah, you plug and play with different business development processes and create different funnels and see which one works and just keep optimizing as best you can. But yeah, that's the first critical ingredient to your strategy.
Yep.
I say help me.
I love it. Now, what about, like, was there a particular session that like led you to, I know you mentioned that it was kind of when I was like, hey, go all in. But beyond that, more on the tactical side, was there a particular session, like advice or kind of an aha moment that led you to kind of, significantly shift your perspective?
Uh, I don't know if there was one single like moment that I can say, oh yeah, okay, that was it. It was kind of just everything tied in, right,
Right.
to what I was going through, and then what you're offering, man. I mean, and I hadn't seen that from any other, recruiting coach or professional development coach or whatever it is.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it was just it was a number of things, Donnie, that led me to you. And but all from your program, which I finished almost a year ago,
Hmm.
a number of those things stick in my head on a daily basis, right? Like
Hmm.
how Target never stops showing up on your TV screen, right? Like
Right.
these that's the kind of mentality you have to have when it comes to marketing online
Right.
digitally. And so these are things that I tell myself on a daily whenever I
Right.
get that little monkey mind saying, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're not an expert. I said, no. Or I don't want people to, I don't want to bug people.
Right.
That's crazy. So yeah, your mentality and mindset, is something I'm going to take with me forever. So
Yeah. That's really great to hear, and that's something that comes up on this podcast. But I think the way you're articulating this, one of the things I don't push hard. But yeah, I mean, so many people get kind of my energy and in my mindset, and just kind of the rub that I have of how I show up as a benefit of joining the program. And I love how you've seen that taken action into that. And one thing you keep on kind of bringing up is just this marketing thing, which obviously is a big part of what we're doing and executing. um, and I think this is really important because there's so many people that have the same apprehension that you kind of have been talking about, which is like, I don't know if I want to put myself out there, and then I've got to do video, and these things are scary. So tell me about your journey with that, like, and how the program helps support you get through just being confident with the content, but also the clarity of what you need to create.
yeah, Donnie. So not only was the modules, right, very intuitive to where all the info was there, but also the weekly meetings, which was crucial because not only is it, I'm getting it from the modules and then also you, but also others that are sharing some kind of difficulties and stuff. But my specific journey with content was like it was so uncomfortable. um it was something that I don't know if I'd be able to do it just on my own, basically. You know what I mean? And so your support, your guidance, and then also your track record, right? Like it's working for you, and not only for you, but also others as well. So it's like all of these things took into place, and I kind of kept kicking myself in the butt. But every week showing up, you holding me accountable. Hey, did you get that? Did you get that video? Created? Yeah, I did.
Right.
It's 10 minutes long, and you said, "What? 10 minutes is too long. You got to shut it down." So I'm like, but this is the growing pains that you go through,
Right.
And, and if you're doing it on your own, it's going to be even harder growing pains, right? So, yeah, dude, I mean, and I was solo, right? It wasn't like I had a
Yep.
big team or anything.
Right.
So when I partnered with you, it was like a true 50-50 partnership. And so, and
Right.
I still hold that kind of relationship status today with
Yeah.
you. But yeah, it was just the constant coaching, the support, and then also the details of the module just made sense, right? It
Right.
just made sense. And so, yeah, the proof was in the pudding. So
Yeah. Well, talking about the proof in the pudding, what were some of the specific, measurable, tangible results that you achieved since we were started working together?
yeah, I mean, so when I started the program, I was at basically zero, right? Nothing coming in, or I had some money coming in, but not any hires scheduled or anything in the forecast. Um, and then 3 months later, I land my highest fee, which was 48K off my first link Ulink campaign. And so, and that was a crazy year because tech was going through their hiring freezes. So even though I hit that, there was still like 2-3 months where I wasn't getting anything. And that's when I came to you, kind of like, hey man, where do I go from here? What do you think? And that's kind of when you struck that fire, reignited that fire inside of me, right? And let me know that, dude, I have the power. And so it's about showing up every day. And so you kind of kicked me in my butt and reignited that fire, and I stuck with it. And then that's when, what was it? 6-7 hires in a row. 48K was my highest. The second one was 40. Next one was 36. I hadn't. I was getting 20K fees, right, in tech, which is low. So, but with all the material that I learned and implemented from your program, gave me the confidence to charge 20 and then also fill these roles quickly.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, but yeah, those are the measurables, those are the numbers, and now even with even just by myself, my company's worth 300 to 500K
Hmm.
with sites on a million. So it's just about how fast I can scale and grow and so forth. But yeah, man, your program basically gave my business life, and the fundamentals are going to be implemented moving forward. Whether it's a recruiting business or a football training program, whatever, the fundamentals are there. And so,
Yep.
your program that took 6 months, I take with me for life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Well,
well
that's
worth the
inspiring,
investment.
man. Yeah, that's inspiring. And you know, you're the one that created that, right? I'm just a person on the journey, but if you don't go in, roll up your sleeves, do the work, fight through those hard times, do this, we're not even having this conversation, right? So,
Exactly,
that's the thing
exactly.
with being a coach is it's an honor to be a part of somebody's journey and just making them realize that like you're the creator. I just get to be the co-creator with you, right? But the results that we generated together is because you rolled up the sleeves, do the work, followed the plan, made the halftime adjustments, and then just continue to stick with it. Um, how would you describe the value of you know this program, or what would you say to somebody who's on the fence but considering working with me?
Yeah, I'm on the fence as well, still today with decisions, right?
Hmm.
And it's it's kind of that tug of war inside where you need change, but you're scared because you're comfortable, right?
Right.
So there is that trusting factor that takes into place. But again, you know, your program for the price and the information and the knowledge and the fundamentals, right? Uh, it's priceless. The ROI is infinite, depending on what you do with the information and the knowledge, right? Just like you
Right.
said, it's not really the coach or the program; it's the person who's implementing that program. And so, but yeah, if you're on the fence because you don't know whether or not it will work, then yeah, I say don't move forward. But if you are committed and want change and want to make your life easier, right? Because we all want to work smarter, not harder, and make as much possible, as we possibly can for the financial freedom for our family and others, right? We want to offer good paying jobs with flexibility, and we want to create a new workforce, right? So,
Right.
but yeah, and or it could just be, hey, I'm trying to pay some extra, get some extra money for some groceries, right? I'm in the same
Right.
boat. So, but yeah, regardless of where you're at, it's on you, right? It's on you. It's not really, Donnie or anyone else. It's on you. You got to trust in yourself first. And if you go with Donnie, he's going to make sure you get to the finish line, and and yeah, so that's what I would say, to those on the fence, yeah.
I appreciate that, my friend. Now, one of the things that's a massive value of the program is the community. Speak to how the community that we develop in the Relevant Recruiter program has also been like an asset and resource for you.
Yeah. I'd almost compare it to like a meditation session. Like you get to really not only because I was solo, I was by myself,
Right,
so I didn't really have anyone to kind of bounce ideas off of, or just kind of vent with, right? Other than my wife, and she didn't want to hear any of that. So those meetings not only like were tactically helpful, right? Like, okay, let's try this next time, or A/B test this, but also, emotionally letting me know that, like, okay, I'm not the only one. There is a support system. We're all in this together. I'm not the only one, having these struggles. And yeah, for me at my point in my career, it was like, yeah, it was almost, yeah, it helped me get through emotionally, not just tactically. So yeah, the community is huge, and they're all over, right? It's not just young recruiters just starting out. There's some that have been established, so it's a wide range. There's no That's what's cool also about your program is it's a wide range. There's different sectors, right? It's not like
right,
just tech, or so you're hearing different things, and different things work for different markets and stuff. But I can
right,
take some things from accounting and finance and try it over here in tech, and they can take what I'm doing here in tech and try. And now we're just getting better, and we're
right.
just like sharing ideas. We're all on the same wavelength. Everyone's here for a reason, and so yeah, that community was huge for me. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that was definitely one of those things that I really had no idea, how positive the community would
Yeah,
be once I was creating all of this, and it's been
yes,
such a huge benefit because of everything you said, right? The additional relationships that you build, the additional support, the additional wins, just being around like-minded winners, people that are hungry, motivated, looking for, their next level. That's contagious, right? And that's what we need in life is we need to be around people that are, pulling in the same direction. Um,
yeah.
so that's really what we've tried to create in that community, and I love hearing that feedback about it. Yeah. What are you excited about for your next steps, Chance? I mean, where are you at now? We've talked about, we've got some good success. I know you're still, still got a lot of things you're dialing in, but what are your plans? Is this thing to grow and scale? Like what's firing you up right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, the what's firing me up is the fact that I even have the option to kind of choose, right? Like I'm at a
Mm-hmm.
point where my business is mature enough to like, okay, do I want to go all in on this thing and get this thing to 5, 10, 15, 20? Like, do we want to go that route, put that kind of energy into it? Or do we want to shift and kind of try something else? That's how powerful, right, the entrepreneurship journey is. And how just the confidence that I got from your program has kind of just it's over a year, or it's
Right.
almost a year, and I'm still kind of feeding off that energy, Donnie, that you kind of
Right.
started and placed in me. So but yeah, I'm just so grateful to be at a point to where, like, I know I got money coming in, right? Because I can
Right.
see my business development. I'm doing my content. I'm connecting with the right people, and so I'm excited. But to answer your question, I'm definitely going for 1 million. If once we get there, then we have another decision to make. So, but right now for me, I'm gonna target that 1 million cash revenue, and then kind of decide from there if we kind of go all in or pick another niche. And because that's the thing too, I'm blessed with, I worked with multiple sectors within tech.
Right.
So, embedded is just one niche. So if I get embedded down to 1 million, I just keep niching down until, I got a bunch of little $1 million babies.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so it's the options are endless at this point, but I'm just so grateful to have that option, because a year
Yeah.
ago, I wouldn't be having this mind frame of thinking, right? I'd be
Right.
playing on the defense. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's excellent to hear. And I think it's so important for people to hear, just how it wasn't a 6 months coaching program and then you're done, right? Like we built new habits, we built new skill sets, we built new mindsets, and everything that we do in the program is all for the long term, right? So, you went through the 6 months, but then everything that you're doing is you're still executing. But the other thing that's really powerful, right, is you're not working in my cookie box, or my play box. You've taken what the strategies, the ideas and stuff, and then you've made that your own. And that's why it's more sustainable, is because you're now playing your own long game. You're doing the same, things over and over and over again that makes successful marketing, business development, lead generation. So,
And I'll say, Donnie, yeah, that's key right there. Because like again, there's different strokes for different folks, right? So and I think what makes what made me a good athlete and others as well is you kind of take from those who got it
yep.
pat, and you say, okay, I like this, but let me add this, or let me do this different, and you put your own secret sauce on it, and that's kind of the cherry on top, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you give the foundation. This works. Like this is proven. But if you want to take it further, then you have to put your creative juices on it and expand from there, right? Like so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man. But you have to have that foundation. And like I said, I didn't have any foundation. You came in, kind of got the gears going, and yeah, now it's just like, okay, where do we want to go? How do we want to play? How big do we want to show up?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's a fun feeling to be here. Yeah.
Love it, man. I'm excited for you. As we wrap this thing up, Chantz, where can everybody get connected with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn mostly right now. Eventually, I'll have the Instagram, the Facebook, the YouTube pages. But that's another thing I'll leave with, right? Especially to recruiters, because we're so used to just doing multiple things at a time, and none of those things actually get us to the next level, right? So because again, Facebook, YouTube, these are all shiny objects, girls, and they work if you have the energy and the time and the bandwidth to do that. So I want to say just focus on one area, whether it's business development or recruiting, and get one foundation started, right? And then kind of shift. And depending on your team too, right? But again, I'm solo, so for me, I could do 5-10 things at once. But it's key to like keep your focus honed in one area and then move on to the next. And that's how you're going to be so efficient and not get caught up in that, chasing the dollar and clients and stuff. So, but yeah, that's what I'll leave the recruiting community with.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So put your expert hat on as we close this segment out. You're the expert. What's the one golden nugget? What's the one piece of advice? I know you've dropped a lot of value. You've dropped a lot of feedback on our conversation, my program. But if you were to just sift through all of that, what is it for people? Is it mindset? What's your advice on for recruiters that want to have some success like you?
Yeah, let me say this because it came to my mind earlier and I didn't get a chance to say it. So it's you are the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? And so. Yep. Now, I had an interesting personal journey. I came from San Jose, moved to the country of Shelbyville, and I have, no community versus my hometown. Right. And what that allowed me to do was kind of give me time to think because I'm out of the big city. Life's kind of slowed down, right? So it gave me time to think, but also let me know who I was surrounded by, right? So, and if I'm trying to be here, well, guess what? I have to get here. And so, and that's what I would say, right? And that's why your program's so key. You tap into Donnie, and now you're surrounded by others that are just you leveled up. Yep. You leveled up, right? And so that's key. That's key. You are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So, yeah.
Love it, man. That's a great final piece of advice, ladies and gentlemen. That's Chantz Staden, owner of Agile Tech Recruiting Services. Make sure you follow him on LinkedIn. If you are looking to experience some success and you want to explore some coaching, reach out to me and we'll set up a time to chat and see if we can get you some results like we did with Chantz. But thank you guys for joining in on another live episode of the Relevant Recruiter Show. Chantz, thank you for being here with me. Thank you for showing up like a complete badass in the coaching program and just being who you are, man. I've enjoyed coaching you. I enjoy our friendship that we've developed now. And, looking forward to staying a part of your journey.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Great show. It's going to be your best one yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, we'll see you on the next show next week. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.